When it comes to making choices about life situation, are there some decisions that are wrong and some choices that must be avoided because they will lead into greater selfishness? In other words, are some choices absolutely wrong, or will eventually all choices bring us to wakefulness? What then is the basis for making choices in the relative world? Now, there's, to some extent, the answer is already here in the second question, and that is, all choices eventually bring you to awakening, even if they appear wrong. If they are wrong, now wrong means they lead you into more delusion, they lead you into more ego, they lead you into more suffering for yourself and others. Perhaps usually they go together. If you make yourself suffer, you make others suffer. So if they are wrong in that sense, then yes, they bring about suffering and delusion, and eventually suffering wakes you up. So there is ultimately nothing wrong as such. You cannot say that anything is wrong, any choice that you make, because if it is, you will suffer, and then the suffering will wake you up. And that's a relief to know that eventually every road that you take will get you there. But some are longer than others. Some go the roundabout way, a bit more pain, a bit more time and suffering. The basis for right choice, of course, is presence and to become still, so that it comes from the deeper level of intelligence and not the conditioned mind or an emotion that you're suddenly overcome by and immediately act upon. So there always you can make choices. Should I stay here or should I move? Should I marry this person or not? Should I leave this person or stay with him or her? Should I leave my job? Should I leave everything behind and move to India? Should I go and help the needy in a poor country? Should I? Many choices. And whatever you choose, if you bring presence to it, then you're fine and you've made the right choice. The best choice, the realization of what it is right for you to do, does not come through thinking. That is the main thing. So in a way you could call that the basis for making choice in this relative world, for making choices. You can think for a while, you can even write down the pro and cons of this choice or that choice, if I do that, but then on the other hand, but even that won't give you a definitive answer. The true realization, and usually when it comes out of presence, it comes as a ready-made realization of this is what I have to do. But don't mistake a strong emotion for that, because that could be, but the next day it'll be gone. That remains, the realization remains. You can wait a few days and it'll still be there, and you can wait a week or 2 or 3 weeks and it remains, whereas emotion will fluctuate. So don't mistake a sudden or even a thought coupled with an emotion for it if it's very strong. Some thoughts have enormous energy behind them. I have to get out of here, I have to get out of here. Just okay. Now this could be mistaken for something that comes from, and it could be, but it may not be. Just, okay, wait, see how you feel, let sleep, and then get up in the morning and see if that's still true. If it's true, it remains true, because it comes from a deeper level. When the realization came I had to leave England, it remained with me. I woke up in the morning and I had to go to the West Coast, and then, okay, that was it. Next day it was still there, the next day it was still there, the next day it was still there, and a week later it was still there. And then I knew, yes, that's it. It was not arrived at through decision-making, Because decision-making is limited. It involves thinking. Thinking always involves opposites. If it comes from presence, it's almost like a ready-made answer. Ah, this is what and there is, so the really choice means there is no choice in a way. Suddenly something comes and you almost have no choice anymore. That is a true choice. It's no choice. And even there, the ego can still interfere, and it can say, "Oh no, you shouldn't do that. What about your pension plan? What about this? What about that?" So those are wonderful when it comes. The stiller you are, the more likely it is that a realization of what is right, if you are at a crossroads or you feel what is right will come suddenly. Ah, yes. I mentioned also yesterday that sometimes the answer comes in the form of an event when you are present. Sometimes it comes from within as a realization, but when you are present, the answer to what is needed, if there is a choice in the external, may sometimes come as an event that suddenly comes into your life and that clearly opens a door where before you didn't know, and suddenly the door opens here. So you have to also be alert to see what kind of events are happening while, when you need an answer, you become still and then see what the answer may come from without, so to speak. It may come through a person, also an event, a person that you meet, an event that suddenly happens. And even a so-called bad event can sometimes be part of the answer. But ultimately, there are no mistakes. They're only temporary learning situations. Because just look back on your life. Well, if there is something to look back on, I've been told that the youngest person here is 12 years old, I believe, and it's wonderful. Thank you for being here and so present. You're certainly more conscious than I was at 12. And I believe the oldest person is 91, is that right? 91, or something like that. So it's, and that's exactly, it's wonderful to see, those are where consciousness needs to enter, the incredible opportunity of old age for awakening, and the wonderful thing when already at a young age that new consciousness arises. It's beautiful to see. So if you look back on your life, if you're 12, there isn't that much to look back on, but and you haven't had time to make many mistakes. But if you look back on your life, you will probably discover many mistakes, so-called mistakes. Shouldn't have done that. That was the wrong choice. That took me there, and I did that for years, and then I realized it wasn't it. And then I chose the wrong partner in some cases. And another wrong partner. And yet, it's all taken you to this moment. It's all taken you to this moment of presence. And so it worked. One could almost say retrospectively, the meaningless jumble of events of your life becomes meaningful, because presence arises now. The arising presence now gives meaning to the seemingly meaningful past, because it's taken you here. All the mistakes and all the chaos has taken you here. If I look back on my life, it was one mistake after another. Really, one mistake after another. The whole university thing was a mistake. Many things that I tried turned out to be mistakes. And until the book was written, if somebody had only looked at the externals of my life, one would have said, this person made too many mistakes. That's why he didn't get anywhere. Externally, from an external viewpoint, and some of my family and relatives took that viewpoint. And yet something suddenly came out of that. It's almost like that's perhaps why the lotus flower is a symbol of the consciousness in Buddhism, and it grows out of the mud. It has its roots in the mud. And then suddenly out of the mud comes that incredible beauty. Out of that, so be glad about all your mistakes. They were not mistakes. They might have been before, but they're not now, because presence is arising. It's taken you into presence. That's what it was supposed to do. So it worked. Or if you need a few more, then okay.